Hey everyone, welcome back to the Container Garden series. This has been such a fun series, and today we're going to wrap it up with how to give your container garden a mid-season boost to keep those harvests coming into the late summer and even into the fall. Now this has been so much fun. We started off with a completely empty balcony here. We're growing in a 7 by 11 space, and look at the growth over just a couple of months. All the container plants are going crazy. We've got tons of tomatoes on our tiny Tims. And the little tiny dwarf zinnia plants are absolutely adorable, bringing in the bees like crazy. We've got sugar baby watermelon growing up the trellis, some cucumbers in the corner here. The beans are going nuts in the purple CaliKim 5-gallon smart pots. There's just little baby beans all over this plant. So if you think that you can't grow vegetables in a tiny, small space, think again, because here we are growing with small container-friendly vegetables and having a ton of fun doing it. Why do you want to do a mid-season boost for your container vegetables? Well, just like we talked about in the how to water containers video, you're watering your containers a lot more often than you are your in-ground garden. And as you water, all that water drains out the bottom and also depletes your containers and your soil of nutrients. Just like our bodies need refueling, our vegetables do too. So we're going to give them a little mid-season boost so they can keep producing all summer and grow all those veggies you're so excited about. We're partnering with Smart Pots for this series, and if you have not got your container garden started yet, I would highly encourage you to start one in Smart Pots. They're so easy to just pop up, fill with soil, add seeds or plants, and you've got yourself a vegetable garden, and they look so beautiful too. The first step to giving your container garden a mid-season boost is to make sure you're checking your garden daily for pests and disease. Here in the mid-season is where the pests come in, the powdery mildew tends to come in, and you want to keep your plants healthy so they can keep producing for you. So what you want to do is come out here and look for signs of disease. Now I can show you some that I have going on here on my cucumber plant. I had some leaf miners come in here a couple of weeks ago and completely wipe out this plant, so you can see I did trim back a lot of the leaves, but I've got some powdery mildew coming in here. And if you've never seen powdery mildew, it's white spots on the leaves of your plants. It often affects squash and cucumbers. You can see these tiny little white spots right here. And what you want to do, first of all, is prune off any signs of pests or disease. So here we've got some disease. I'm going to go ahead and prune this leaf off. And anything that has these white spots like this is powdery mildew. And then if you see any signs of pests, like here over on my strawberry plant, it looks like some pests have been chewing on the leaves here. So you want to prune off any of the pest damage. And try not to prune off any more than about 1/3 of the plant. And then I'll show you in just a moment how to give it a boost to help your plants and your leaves grow back. So as part of the first step of pruning and checking your plants for pests and disease, you want to treat anything that might come up. So a good way to treat powdery mildew is with a milk water spray, and I'll link up the video below to how I make the milk water spray. But basically it's 8 parts milk to 1 part water. You want to really douse down those leaves, and the milk spray works best when it's sprayed in direct sunlight. It's kind of shady here right now, but you douse down those leaves. Want to make sure you get underneath the leaves too. Always test spray first, wait 24 hours to see if there's any damage, and then spray your entire plant down. But the milk spray can really help with prevention of powdery mildew. Now I know it's really hard to prune all these leaves off. You do not want that powdery mildew to spread to the rest of your garden. And look down here, guys. We've got a beautiful little cucumber. So not only do you want to keep an eye out for powdery mildew, but you also want a preventative spray for pests. And if you guys watched my organic pest control video a few weeks ago, you saw how I mixed up neem, peppermint, and rosemary oil. We've been spraying down our garden with it every 2 weeks. So preventative spray is every 2 weeks. If you have an infestation, you want to spray every 3 days or so. So far things are looking pretty good, aside from my cucumber plant that unfortunately got damaged and I had to trim a lot of the leaves off. The lily-put zinnias are showing a few little signs of spider mites in here. Let me show you the leaves here. See how there's a lot of spotting there? That's usually a sign of spider mites. So those leaves I actually want to come in and prune off as well. I'll prune the rest of those off later, but you guys get the idea. And we're going to go ahead and spray down our entire container here. And this is the 6-foot Smart Pots long raised bed. It fits so many vegetables in it. So I hope you guys are able to grab some and grow in Smart Pots as well. And make sure when you're doing the neem oil, peppermint, rosemary oil spray, you do it early in the morning, not in direct sunlight. And again, always test spray a couple of leaves first. Wait 24 to 48 hours to see if there's any damage before you spray down the entire plant. And I hope you guys are enjoying my little tree branch twine trellises. This has been such a fun project, just winding the twine, wrapping the twine around the tree branches and making really fun little supports for my Tiny Tim tomatoes. I think the biggest thing about pest and disease is just take a really relaxed approach to it. It's gonna happen, especially at this point in the summertime. So just take care of it, prevent it as much as you can, and then just expect it. As long as you have some little tools like this in your arsenal, it will really help. Now my container garden at this point in the season is getting about 5 to 6 hours of sunlight a day. So the growth has been just a little bit slower than if you were in full sun, but you can still grow even in partial sun. And it's super exciting to see a little tiny sugar baby watermelon coming on, starting to climb up the trellis. And growing vertically is such a great way to grow a lot of veggies in a little bit of space. So make sure you go back and watch the entire container garden series from the very beginning on how you can get some trellises set up so you can grow lots of veggies here. The second thing you want to do to give your container garden a mid-season boost is fertilize. Now containers need fertilizing more than your in-ground garden because like I said before, the nutrients drain right out. So I like to fertilize my containers every 7 to 10 days. Now I absolutely love this mandarin orange Smart Pots and I'm so excited about the California Wonder peppers in here. These are one of my favorite variety and the peppers are really sizing up. Look at that beautiful pepper. Camera guy and I love to have peppers on the grill, so I'm so excited to harvest these peppers, probably within a few weeks or so. But they definitely need a little bit of a boost. And what I'm going to do is put some compost over the top of the soil. Now what that's called is a top dressing. Now I know it's kind of a funny gardening term, but basically what that means is you're putting some kind of fertilizer on the top of the soil and the nutrients will soak down into the plants as we water them. And I like to use compost because not only do I love making compost in my own garden, so it really feels good to know I'm making good use out of my garden and kitchen scraps and turning it into black gold for the garden. But it also serves as mulch for the top of the soil, which will help with water evaporation so I don't have to water my containers quite as often. Now, if you think you can't compost in a small space, you absolutely can. Go back and watch my video on that, on how to compost in a 5-gallon container. And oh my goodness, I love the smell of homegrown compost. Oh, it just smells so earthy and so good. So we're gonna put maybe an inch or so on the top of the soil here, and then we're gonna water it in. It is great to add to the soil because it feeds your plants over the long haul. As it continues to break down, it will give your plants nutrients and help them to grow and produce into the late summer and into the fall. And look at this, guys, a little worm in my homemade compost. So we are going to add him to my container here. And worms are so good for the soil and for the plants. So like I mentioned, the compost will continue to feed your plants over the long haul as it breaks down, but we are going to give them a boost of water-soluble fertilizer that will be immediately available to the plants to boost them into action and to keep them producing. So we're going to use Vermistera worm tea for that, which is a very mild fertilizer. It's got lots of beneficial bacteria and microbes in it, really keeps your plants healthy and producing, and will help break down the compost as well. So I added maybe half a cup or so to my watering can here, and we're going to douse these plants down. Now containers do need fertilizing every 7 to 10 days, so I've been giving my container garden a douse down of the worm tea every 7 to 10 days to keep them healthy, keep them producing, and really helps keep them looking good. So you notice how I'm watering at the base of the plants here? That will help prevent disease. A lot of times when the soil splashes up on your plants start getting diseases here in the mid-season. So really be careful about your watering. The third thing to give your container garden a mid-season boost is to keep on planting. Now is a perfect time to plant a new wave of vegetables. So as some of the vegetables might start to reach the end of their peak, or you have disease and pest issues, you have some brand new vegetables to take their place that are nice and healthy so that you can keep the harvest coming. So especially at this cucumber plant here, where I did have some disease and pest issues, I'm going to plant some new seeds and some brand new plants so that I can have cucumbers to harvest into the fall. So I'm going to plant myself some more Space Master cucumbers. These are from the Container Garden Seed Collection. You can grab this over on my website. And we're just going to pop some seeds right into the container here. So you definitely don't want to stop planting. So cucumbers, you can direct seed and plant directly in your containers at this time of the year. It's nice and warm. They love the warm summer weather. So I'm just going to pop a couple of seeds right in this container, and you can see I've got some little lettuce seedlings coming up, but it's been kind of hot, so the lettuce isn't growing real fast now. So I just popped a couple of seeds down here at the base of the plant that I was having trouble with. I'm just going to put a little handful of soil over that, and then those should actually sprout within a week or so. Now right here, I planted a couple little cucumber seeds maybe a week or so ago. Those are starting to come up already. We'll start climbing up this trellis. Don't you guys just love this little tree branch trellis? I am so enjoying using tree branches and twine in my garden this year. I think it just gives it such a nice, cute, rustic look. So let me know if you're trying that too. And I'm also going to pop a little cucumber transplant in here. This is a lemon cucumber from my cucumber seed collection. I actually started these seeds in this little tray here. I just started them outdoors here on my deck, so I would have some brand new transplants to plant here in the late summer. So you guys are getting to be experts at this now. We're just going to dig a little hole right in the soil. So easy to pop in here. And it gives me a little bit of a head start on my late summer garden, as I'm starting from a transplant instead of seeds. Then I'll have things ready to harvest at different times. Now here, there's a little bit of heat damage on these cucumber leaves here, so I'm going to go ahead and pinch them off. The fourth thing to give your container garden a mid-season boost is to harvest. Now that may seem like kind of an obvious one, but the more you harvest, the more your vegetables will produce. So you want to pick your vegetables when they're at a good size. Smaller is better for more flavor. When they get oversized, sometimes they tend to get seedy or bitter, and you should actually harvest before you spray your plants. So I kind of did this a little bit backwards, but I do have a cucumber ready to harvest here. Cucumbers are so delicious and so fresh and juicy, and we do have some little baby cucumbers coming on, which will be ready probably within a couple of days. And let's just move on down the line and see if we have anything else ready to pick. We'll definitely be getting some tomatoes probably within a couple of weeks. These tiny Tim tomatoes are absolutely loaded down with tons of little green tomatoes. And I am going to go ahead and pick some zinnias here because it's so much fun to have the fresh flowers in the house. When you prune your zinnias, it helps them produce more blooms, and it will bring in the pollinators, and then you'll have beautiful flowers to enjoy inside as well. Next, we're going to harvest some basil. Now you want to harvest basil before it flowers for the best flavor. And basil is a wonderful herb because the more you prune it, the more it grows. So I'm just going to trim off right below this first set of leaves here. And it's going to be so, so delicious to eat with our cucumbers as well. And the cool thing about basil is you can stick the stem in a jar of water. It will grow roots, and you can have brand new basil plants. Oh, it just smells so delicious out here. So we've got a couple cucumbers to harvest on this plant here in the tan 20-gallon smart pots. And you can see this cucumber here is a tad misshapen. Sometimes that happens in the heat. We did have a really hot week a few weeks ago. So good idea to just keep checking your garden and then picking them when they're about 4 to 6 inches long like this for the best flavor. And you can see here where I do have some powdery mildew affected leaves. So we definitely are going to be trimming those down, treating this for the pests, and then also planting some new plants in this container as well. I'm loving how the kale and chard is looking in the berry blue smart pots. I love the red charred stalks here. Aren't those absolutely beautiful? And these leaves are humongous. These are great for wraps. You can even have like a burger in it if you don't want to have the bun. These leaves are absolutely beautiful, and we're going to add those to our harvest basket. Also good in smoothies. This is the red Russian kale. We do love our kale smoothies. Super delicious and healthy. It's just so much fun to come out here and harvest from our container garden. The cool thing too about growing a container garden is it's easy access to your kitchen. So you can just pop out here, pick your vegetables, and then go inside for your cooking. The beans, oh my goodness, you guys, the beans are love and life in the purple CaliKim Smart Pots. This is a perfect spot for them. These are the Blue Lake beans from the Container Garden Seed Collection. They are going crazy. I've never had beans that have grown like this before. Tons of flowers, and I love to see the little baby beans here. And when you harvest beans, you kind of want to dig around in here to see if there's any that are ready to harvest. A lot of really small ones. Oh, here's one over here that's actually just about perfect. So I'm not just going to yank it. I'm going to gently hold the vine in one hand, the bean in the other, and just pull it. And we are going to have a ton of beans off this plant, probably within just a couple of days. We do have some things to harvest here in the Smart Pots wall saddles. One thing I love about growing in a container garden is growing vertically. It adds so much visual interest to your garden, and the wall saddles are really fun for that too. So we've got some strawberries and kale in here, and these are just so cute hanging over the rail. I just love seeing how the strawberries hang down like this. Growing your own fresh strawberries is so easy, especially in the fabric containers. And these are so ripe and juicy. See how there's a nice little red sheen to the strawberry and no white on the bottom or on the top. These are perfectly ripe, and we definitely want to get to them before the birds do. It's going to be really fun to keep an eye on these wall saddles over the next couple of weeks for more harvests. The strawberries are looking so, so good. Little green one here, lots of little strawberry flowers. And I love how these look with the blue lobella. Got some little dwarf zinnias in here. So you want to go back and check out the video on growing on rails for all the details on how to get something like this set up in your garden too. Thanks to Smart Pots for partnering with us on this series. It has been a ton of fun. I know a lot of you are enjoying growing in Smart Pots, getting your container garden planted, growing and harvesting your veggies. And I want to encourage you to give your container garden this mid-season boost, pruning, fertilizing, planting more vegetables, and harvesting to keep those veggies coming into the late summer and even into the fall. If you want to get started with container gardening, grab a container garden seed collection over on my website. I would love to grow veggies with you. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.